Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another painting tutorial. When I constructed this miniature, I originally thought that I was going to fit this whole thing into a single video, but I soon realized that I was going to have to split it into two. So that is what we are going to do. It is on the beautiful new Slann Star Master miniature from Games Workshop. They very kindly sent me out the contents of the new battle box. And I'm going to be painting up the Slann as the first miniature from that collection. So the miniature is very detailed, so what I'm going to do is split it into two parts, like I said. The first part being the actual Slann himself, the big magical frog. I'm going to paint him up in today's video, and then in the second video, which I'll put up next week, you will get how to paint his glorious floating chair of doom. So I hope you guys stick around and enjoy that. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my active patrons before I get into the video. Without you guys, I would not be able to keep doing what I'm doing. If you're interested in getting involved in that, there are links to it below. You get benefits like an extra video every single week. So that's 52 extra videos a year, and you get access to a private Discord server where you can participate in a bunch of different events there as well. Okay guys, without further ado, let's paint a frog. So this is the Frog Lord himself, the one I shall be painting in today's video. You can see his little frog butt there, which I think is hilarious. They bought it to sculpt that in. Not that you would see it once he's glued into his chair. And there's of course the massive chair. Once I had the two pieces built, sprayed, I realized that it was going to be a pretty much impossible task to do in a single video, and that's why I decided to break them up. So this piece will be done in next week's video, and in today's video we are of course going to focus on the Frogman himself, the Slann Star Master, which back in the old world was one of the most powerful psychers in the game, and I'm fairly sure he is the same in Age of Sigmar. We are going to start with Gryph-Hound Orange contrast. We're going to apply this to all of the skin of this model. The model was sprayed black and then sprayed grey sear to give me that kind of dusty grey look that you have in front of you, which is where I like to start most of my paintings from. So with the Gryph-Hound Orange, like I said, I'm just going to apply it to all of his skin. I'm going to do my best not to hit anything that isn't skin. If you do, it's okay. Most of the other parts on it are going to be metallics, a lot of gold. Lizardmen, or Seraphon as they're now known, are very much Aztec themed, so there's quite a lot of gold on them. Volupus Pink was used to fill in his mouth to get his tongue and gums. Once again, you're going to be pushing this inside his mouth. If you hit his lips a little bit, it's not at the end of the world because we will be doing a lot of layering on the skin, so it's not too bad. Retributor Armor Gold was used for all of the gold parts of this. Like I said, these are heavily inspired by the Aztecs, so they do like quite a lot of gold. Now, the skull in his left hand is painted like some sort of weird, I don't know, concrete or stone or crystal, or there's a million different ways that you could paint it. Obviously, taken from Indiana Jones, it could be a crystal skull if you are so inclined. That's a lot of effort. Frankly, I don't think the end result is worth it as much as just painting it gold like everything else. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave it as a gold skull. From here, we're going to go to Croxagore Scale, and these are for the beautiful feathery plumage coming out of the top of his crown or circle or whatever he has on his little noggin. These are from the new kind of second wave of contrast paints, I guess. The Croxagore Scales are really beautiful paint, and I am trying to reach in and use some of those contrasts more. I'm just very comfortable with the first edition contrast, so I tend to leave them out a little bit. Black Templar was then brought in for his hypno cheeks, and then he's also got all of his nails and stuff, but I think we don't touch the nails until we get to the layering stage later on. So for now it's just the discs in his cheeks. With that, that's pretty much all the base coats on the miniature, so we're going to throw a shade over it. Rycliffe Flesh Shade is a perfect shade for this, and it's got that warm skin tone to it, so that'll kind of transform the orange color from looking like an unnatural orange to a more natural orange, like it belongs on a lizard or something, like this guy actually is. Rycliffe Flesh Shade is also a beautiful color to shade gold with, and it doesn't do a half bad job with all of the blue plumage as well. So Rycliffe Flesh Shade the entire frog. Another good reason to separate the chair and the frog is obviously a lot of people are going to have different ways of painting this guy depending on what color you want him: green, blue, yellow, or any color you like. Whereas I think the chair is pretty much universal for how a lot of people are going to paint it. So people might use the chair video and not necessarily use the Slann video, but it's up to them, I guess. Okay, so Games Workshop's oranges, yellows, and whites are something that I'm not a huge fan of. So I'm actually going to jump over to two thin coats. and we're going to go to Fanatic Orange. We're going to use basically their triad system, except we're going to count the contrast and the shade as their step 1, and then use the mid and highlight color from their range to get the orange looking nice and crisp. So like I said, Fanatic Orange is the mid-tone that I'm using. And I'm being very selective and very careful painting this on. I'm using it like a highlight, so I'm just trying to hit all the raised areas on, obviously, the very expressive face, his lips, forehead, around his big Buddha-like stomach, all those kind of bits and pieces. This is going to be obviously a very centerpiece model in your army. It is going to be looked at a lot, so spending a little bit more time on a guy like this really will make all the difference. So here it is with the first layer, the Fanatic Orange done. Now we're on to the Orange Flare. And I always found that the low to mid-tone of the Two Thin Coats range isn't such a huge jump, but when you go from the mid-tone up to the highlight, the model just pops. And I knew that was going to happen here as soon as I begun using the Flare Orange, and honestly, the end result of layering this skin with this paint, I was so super pleased with. So it's basically just going in again, re-highlighting, but obviously doing less of the surface area. You want to leave more of the Fanatic Orange behind in the recesses, and just hit the highest bits with the Flare Orange now. As you can see, I'm using a very fine pointed brush. I am taking my time. I want this to be right. And because the model is so well sculpted, picking out where the highlights are supposed to go is relatively easy, especially around his face. So here he is with the skin basically done on my orange frog. Now it's time to start working on some of those other details. So we're going to go to Corvus Black for the hypno cheeks. And this is where we're also going to go in and base coat in all of his fingernails and claws. Be careful with when you're doing it on his feet, because obviously they are basically pressed right up against the torso. So be careful not to hit any of the body. From here, we're going to go over to Ironbreaker, and we're going to use this to highlight all of the gold. For this, we're just going to use my kind of touch highlight method, which is just hitting some of the sharper points, some of the raised areas, leaving about 80% of the gold behind. It does really make the gold pop. I've said it in previous videos, I first started doing this when I started doing my Black Templar series, and I basically haven't stopped highlighting gold like this ever since. A nice bright or mid-tone silver over the gold just works a treat. And of course over the golden skull as well. And with the gold gleaming, it's time to start working on those feathers. So we're going to go to Sybarite Green first, and we're going to do the usual feathering technique, which is just sharp pointed brush. Put the brush about halfway along the feather and just drag it out towards the edge. So you're going to leave the core of it nice and dark, but just do the edge of it nice and bright. This is obviously another focal point of this miniature, so if you get this right, it's going to make a huge difference. The gleaming crown, the jewel in the center, and then the nice feathers, it's going to make all the difference. From here, we're going to go over to Gauss Blaster Green for the second highlight. And just like the skin, we're just going to go about halfway down again from where we applied the first highlight. And just do the exact same technique. So we're basically just doing almost just the tips of the feather with that color. And with that, his plumage is popping and he's looking great. Okay, now we're going to jump over to Abaddon Black and paint in his eyes. If I'm being honest at this point, I didn't really like the Corvus Black on his cheeks, so I did actually go back over it with Abaddon Black here to darken it down. And I will throw a gloss varnish over that as well when I'm doing the eyes and stuff later on, just to make them pop a little bit. Yriel Yellow was used for his lizard-like pupils. For some reason, pupils in my head, it indicates like a circle, whereas lizards have like the slit. So I'm doing the slit technique with these guys. And I'm basically just drawing a nice, neat orange yellow line down the middle of his black eye. And then we use some art coat and paint that over the eyes to make them look shiny. Like I said, I did the cheeks and stuff like this, the black cheeks at the same time with that. Now it's time to work on that jewel in the center of his head. So we started with Khorne Red and painted in the entire jewel with the Khorne Red. The technique that I'm going to show you now can work for any color. You just need a dark color, a medium color, and a light color of whatever color it is, whether it be blue, yellow, orange, purple, anything you like. And then we're going to do a kind of a crescent moon style thing. So we're going to jump up to the next color, which is Mephiston Red, run it down the right hand side of the gem, and then across the bottom. So we're leaving about like the top left quarter of the gem painted dark. Then we're going to go Evil Sun Scarlet and do the same thing, just go a little bit further in. So just down the edge and just a little bit in. After that, we're just going to go to a bold titanium white and put a dot, which represents the kind of glare of light in the top left. Just a simple dot. And then what I forgot to film then is we put a gloss of varnish, that same ard coat we used before, over the top of that, and we get this gleaming gemstone. And with that, we have our finished Slann ready to go. All we have to do now is work on his chair, which, like I said, and as you can see, is a lot of work ahead of me. But I'm very much looking forward to getting kind of diving straight into this. I'm loving how the Slann is turning out so far, and I'm very, very excited to see how he all comes together and how he looks as a completely finished model. Hope you guys liked the end result. Hope you'll tune in to the next video where I paint the chair, and I hope you learned something. Okay guys, and there we have it. I'm fairly sure I made the right decision not trying to force myself to paint really fast and get both of these things crammed into a single video. I got to take my time on the Slann himself, and I'm super proud of the result. I think it looks really, really well. I hope you guys learned a bunch on how to paint it up yourselves. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, it would mean the world to me if you took 2 seconds out of your day and hit that little subscribe button. About 60 to 70% of the people that watch my videos actually aren't subscribed, so it's a huge portion of you that are leaving me out to dry here. If you have any questions about anything I've done in this video or any previous video, please put in the comments below and I will get back to each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.